Hey, my name is John Dyer. I'm a web developer in Dallas, Texas. I have the privilege of showing you the latest version of inScript from the Digital Bible Society. What you can see here is some pretty standard Bible software with some of the features that you'd expect. I can scroll up and down and multiple chapters will load so I can continuously read the Bible. In addition to just showing a single text, I can load about as many as I want by going up here to this Add New window and show additional Bibles. And I'll move to one that's in Spanish, put them side by side with the English, and now as I scroll up and down, the two texts scroll together. And when I highlight a particular chapter or particular verse or even word, it'll highlight across the different versions, showing me how they map together. If I load, say, a third version here, I'll load the original Greek text using the new SBL text. These all match up together, and I can see the words like testimony or witness as it appears in the original text and how it's translated there into Spanish and into English. There's all the other features too, like cross-references that you'd expect, and you can see the verses there and notes if a text has it. So here's a note here in that New American Standard Version. And I can move throughout these. I can navigate text by looking at the list of the names in whichever language I'm using, or even a shorter version here, which makes it a little bit simpler to navigate around. So if I want to move to Romans 3, or if I want to move back into the Gospels, this is all pretty simple navigation. And all the texts again match up. There's information available about each text by clicking the little I button, so I can see where this came from and also see where this one came from. I can close these and continue to look. As I look throughout the text, there's also additional things from the notes. There's also some images there and some maps. And as I move along throughout these texts, I can see different ones embedded in different portions. I can see those same things by opening up a new window for media here, which will show me all of the available pictures throughout the whole chapter. And as I move down to a new chapter, new media will load. So I can look at the maps, I'll look at pictures associated with the various passages. So here's the wedding at Cana. I can move along. There's not just images and maps. There's also, if I move over to Luke, there's also some video available in some of these where I can load up the Jesus film. Now, this version of the Jesus film is loading remotely from the Jesus film servers. They've given us API access.
I'm writing to you, dear Theophilus,
and if I launch it out of a particular version, it will load in that with the audio of that language. Now, if you don't like all of this media stuff, I'm going to close this window. You also have some customization options here in the style window. So one of those things is to make the font a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, to change the typeface that you like. Also, if you prefer not reading something that's so high contrast as black and white, you can change to sepia or change to a fully low light look so everything becomes black and a little bit darker and easier to read in low light. And you can also turn off a lot of things that you see in the text. So if you want to turn off the media, you can do that, or turn off the notes. You can even, if you'd like to, move over here to John 2. You can turn off the red letters if you'd like to, and turn off the headings, and even the chapter and verse numbers that were drawn up in the 1550s. You can take that off and just be able to read the text a little bit closer to how it would have been originally written. I'm going to turn these all back on and also show you that you can change the whole interface to be a particular language here. So since I've got Spanish up, I'm going to change the interface to Spanish, but it can also be languages like Arabic, or any of those will fit in here. There's about 70 languages we can choose from depending on where we're distributing this. I want to mention again that if we look up here, this isn't actually a website. All of these things are running here just on local files. So I can close this down and I can just reopen it. It's just a set of local files on my desktop. In the text itself, there's also some interesting features here where I can look up actually the Greek words here. So I can see that Cana was mentioned 4 times. Look up how mother is used. So this is a good chance for me to click on this and actually see a search algorithm pull up here. And I can see how it's been translated and in which books it appears. There's a little histogram here where we see that Matthew uses mother a lot, John a little bit less, and it appears a few times throughout the other books of the Bible. And if I click on one of these, I see how it's translated even in English and in Spanish. Here's all the mentions throughout the New Testament. I also do just a normal it's a normal search just with English words. So here's truth and love. See, this is used a few times in these minor prophets, but used a lot in John's epistles. Search for a more common word like covenant. See how this is used across the Bible. A bunch in Psalms, not much in the New Testament, but a lot in Hebrews. So I look around here and I can see how it's translated. All throughout the whole Bible. So again, we can scroll around, and depending on how things are formatted, they should still be able to be matched up, and we can see how they're used. Here's sword appears 412 times in the Bible. All the mentions of Samuel, which is always translated Samuel, surprisingly enough. We also have some commentary windows here where I can open up something like John Lightfoot's commentary. I can see all those notes. The Treasury of Scripture Knowledge has a lot of great information in it, a lot of great cross-references that I can look at throughout the scriptures. There's also maps too. So we've looked at search and media and commentary. There's also some maps, which will show me a lot of locations. So again, if I go back to John 2, I'll see Cana here, and now I see it in green, and I can zoom in and I can see different locations. So there's Bethany, back in chapter 1. And I can move around, look at a location I want to see, and see where that's mentioned here in Judges. So there's Aruma. There's also some features to show things in languages that might be missing something. So in English, there's no second person plural. So I'm going to turn on a highlighter to show me that. And a place where this is really important would be in 1 Corinthians 3. Here where Paul says, do you not know that you are a temple of God? Those yous are actually plural. Now you can see that in something like Spanish, which has a plural form, but you can't see that as well in English. So this highlighter turns on and shows you something that you can't see in English. You can also see this particularly in Genesis 3, when the serpent begins to address the woman, he actually says you plural, both you, Adam and Eve. So this shows you something in English that you can't normally see. There's other filters we can turn on. I'm going to go back to John and switch over to the King James Version and load up a Greek text as well. So there's also some visual filters that allow you to see things like, say, a particular Strong's number. In this case, this is the Strong's number for Jesus. And we're going to highlight this and underline it here in red so we can see this across some of the texts. We can also see here, I'm turning on any verb that's in the aorist tense, and I'm highlighting that across versions as well. So some versions have that information and some don't. And then in Hebrew, I'm going to turn on something in Hebrew that's something we can only see really in Ruth. So let me switch over to Ruth and get up a Hebrew text. And move back into Ruth, sorry about that. And here, what I'm doing is I'm highlighting all the proper names. So we know in the story of Ruth, there's a lot of names of places and people. And so if I highlight this in green, or I can change this to something else like, say, magenta, this just shows me all the names. So if I'm trying to work on my Hebrew reading, I can turn these on, and I can always click on it and see what proper name this is. This is Moab. And again, click on this and see where all that's mentioned and how it's translated, which doesn't help me a whole lot in Hebrew. But if I were to do the same thing over in English or Hebrew text, I can see Naomi and where that's mentioned. Let's see that again. So these different highlighting features allow you to see some things that you normally would only be able to see, in really high-powered, expensive Bible software. But again, all this is running on my desktop. And not only does this work here on a big desktop computer where I can go full screen, it will also work on a smaller screen if I just make this a lot smaller. Come all the way down here, the interface will change and be appropriate for a phone. So this same thing still works on a phone. So does this, and so do all the customization features. But if you pull it back out, you'll be able to see everything just as you'd like on a desktop and begin doing your study work. So I hope you've enjoyed this demo of inScript from the Digital Bible Society. You can find more about it at inScript.org. Thanks very much.